My fiance made me choose between him and my sister, so I chose myself.
That's the best option.
I, 28 female, got engaged to my partner of 7 years, Robert, 29 male, in May. Both sides of our family were really happy about this, and we had a big family meal 2 weeks after getting engaged. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Sister's Eye. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, his brother lives 250 miles away, and I couldn't make it. So we decided to have a meal just for his family in late June when his brother would be back for the weekend. This weekend was arranged long before we got engaged, so he wasn't back just for the meal. Earlier this year, my sister, Kendra, 32 female, got a serious eye infection that very quickly turned into an ulcer. She needed a corneal graft, but her surgeon was away for 4 weeks, so she was going to have to wait until he got back.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. However, her eye didn't hold, and it perforated the day I was supposed to be going to the family meal with Robert's brother. Kendra's wife was at work with her phone turned off, and our mom was away with our stepdad. So when Kendra called to let me know what was happening, I knew she would be at the hospital on her own. I immediately talked to my boss, and he let me go early so Kendra would be on her own. I texted Robert to let him know what was going on, and he texted me back to send Kendra his love and to remind me about the meal that night. I ignored the comment about the meal as it was the last thing on my mind. Once I got to the hospital, I was taken back into a room where Kendra was, greeted by 3 doctors and 2 nurses rushing around trying to help her. I was then informed that she needed an emergency operation to have her eye glued, or else she would lose it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is terrifying.
The problem was that they didn't have a surgeon at that hospital who could do it, and she needed to go to another hospital an hour and a half away. They asked if she would need transportation or if I could take her, and I said I would take her. Once we got to the other hospital, we were told that she would be having the operation at 5:30 p.m. I knew then that I wouldn't make the dinner and texted Robert to let him know. He flipped out and basically told me to leave Kendra at the hospital and have her wife pick her up after the operation was done.
Jeez.
At this point, I still hadn't been able to get a hold of Kendra's wife. I told him that wasn't going to happen and that he was out of order to even ask me to do that. I then texted his mom and told her what was going on. She was really supportive and told me to stay with Kendra and let her know how the operation went. A dinner can be rescheduled and Kendra's health can't, she said. I also spoke with his brother, who is equally as understanding. I stayed with Kendra. Her operation was a success, and I got her back home at about 9 p.m. Her wife had ordered some Chinese food and offered me some, which I happily accepted as I hadn't eaten since lunch. I didn't get home till about 11 p.m. and Robert was already asleep. Robert was very short with me for days after, and we ended up having a huge fight where he told me that I should have put his brother and family before Kendra.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, Robert, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, no, come on, Robert. You're about to marry this woman.
Yeah.
And you're not even understanding why she needed to be there for Kendra?
He said he was embarrassed going to the meal without me. I responded that I was embarrassed. He thought I would put a meal before my sister's health. This led to another week of awkwardness between us before we finally sat down and sorted it out. Or so I thought. 8 weeks ago, Kendra got her graft, and so far everything is going really well with it. On Saturday, his brother was here, so we went out for dinner with his family. His family were all asking about how Kendra was doing, and I showed them a picture of the stitches in her eye. I thought that everything had gone really well until we got home and he got really angry, saying that I shouldn't have brought up Kendra's health issues and I shouldn't have shown them the picture. I argued that they asked about her and asked to see the picture. It ended with him telling me that I needed to put him and his family before Kendra, or else we weren't going to work. He said his family would come before mine once we were married, so I should get used to it.
My God. His family comes before yours? Forever?
That's not how that works, buddy boy.
No. This isn't like the 1800s where like the woman left home and never went and came back, you know?
Have you checked a calendar recently, dude?
Yeah. It's not how that works, buddy.
I went upstairs and packed a bag. I'm now at my mom's house. and he's been bombarding me with texts and calls since I left. I do love him, but I will never put his family above my own family's health. I feel like he's expecting me to spend every holiday with his family and put their wants above my family's needs, which won't happen. I'm very close to my sister and my mom, and that's not going to change. So I don't really know how to move forward or if I even really want to. Has anyone experienced anything like this before? If so, how did you deal with it? And we have an update, but what you thinking?
Oh boy. Honestly, I'd be completely reconsidering the marriage.
Yeah, to be like, just so you know, your family will never come first again.
Yeah. One, him saying that. Two, him saying that he's embarrassed that you didn't show up for a dinner when your sister was in the hospital. I'd be reconsidering.
Yeah. Update. A lot has happened. Once I decided to end things with him, I knew that the main issue would be getting him out of my house. I own the house outright. My grandma passed 5 years ago and left her house to my mom, who sold it and split the money between me and my sister. I then bought the house with that money about a year after she passed. I got in touch with my stepdad's friend, who is a landlord, the day after I wrote my original post, and he put me in touch with his solicitor. He didn't have time to see me in person that day, but we did have a phone call where he gave me my options. In the UK, we have something called a Section 8 notice, which is a 14-day eviction notice. The solicitor said this would be the quickest way to get him out. However, he could try and contest it if he wanted to. I thought someone fell down the stairs. Which would lead to court dates and could take months. I asked him to draw up the notice and date it for Friday the next day. I had already made the decision to end things with him after work on Friday so that he could have the weekend to sort through his emotions before work on Monday. On Friday morning, I texted Robert and asked him to meet with me at our local pub after work. He quickly agreed. Not only is the pub a public space, but my stepdad and a few of his work friends go there every Friday after work for a few pints. So I knew he would be there to step in if I needed him. I also picked up the eviction notice on my lunch break. I was ready to give it to him. Cost £250, but it was worth it. When I got to the pub, Robert was already there, and my stepdad was standing at the bar with his workmates. I sat down with Robert and got straight to the point. I told him that it was over. I couldn't be with someone who didn't give me any support when I was going through one of the scariest moments of my life, and who expected me to drop my family for his. It didn't matter what excuses he could come up with. I wasn't interested.
Nice.
I made up my mind. We were done.
Nice.
He stared at me in shock for what felt like an hour, but was probably only a minute or so. He then started saying I couldn't be serious, that we'd been together for 7 years and I was throwing it all away.
Nah, boy, you were throwing it all away with your nasty comments.
Ready for this next line?
Yeah.
Ready for this?
Oh, no.
That I could never find another guy like him.
I hope not.
I hope
I never find a guy like you again. Jeez, you suck.
I responded to the last comment with, I don't want a guy like you. That's why I'm ending it.
Yes.
I need someone who will support me when times get tough, not get annoyed that the world isn't bowing down to what you want. I then handed him an envelope with an eviction notice in it and my engagement ring. I told him I was giving him a few weeks to find a place and be out of my house. Then I stood up and walked over to my stepdad, who had bought me a much-needed drink, and stayed with him until my ex left, still looking in shock. I knew he wouldn't approach me while I was with my stepdad, as he's always been a little scared of him. Once I got back to my mom's house, I had a single text from him that said he wasn't moving out, and he's going to contest the eviction until I'd come to my senses and got back with him. All caps, we are not over. That's was how he ended the text.
Funny, because I think we are.
It's so funny. It's actually like I'm still breaking up with you.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because I've broken up with you, so we're actually done.
Really wild how that works.
Sorry.
I just turned my phone off and decided to deal with the legal side of things on Monday. There was nothing else I could do. Saturday morning, I woke up and turned my phone back on and had another text from him saying that he would move out if I paid him £10,000, as that's what he'd paid towards bills while he had lived at the house.
Or you'll move out when I evict you.
Yeah. He paid for half of the electric, gas, Wi-Fi, and Sky package.
Yeah, come on.
And note, the Sky package is only as expensive as it is because he has to have every sports channel known to man. So his half literally just paid for the sports channels. I'd already asked the solicitor about this though, and he assured me that I didn't owe him any money. as he hadn't contributed to a mortgage or any renovations of the house. It was just general expenses. He also knew that I didn't have 10,000 pounds just lying around. I was irritated by this and decided to ring his mom to see if she could talk some sense into him. Sylvia was appalled by what I told her and said she would speak to him. She called me back about an hour later and asked me to meet her at the house. Robert was on an away day to watch his football team play and wouldn't be back till about 10 p.m., so I knew he wasn't there. I met her at the house with Kendra, and Sylvia said that Robert's brother was on his way back home and they would have Robert out by the following afternoon. She hadn't even spoken to Robert, just his brother, but she promised he would be out. Sylvia then asked me to walk her through the house, showing her exactly what was his and what wasn't, so he didn't take anything that didn't belong to him. The next morning, I got a text from Robert calling me all the names under the sun for getting his mom and brother involved. I blocked him, and a couple of hours later, Sylvia texted me to let me know he was out and staying with her. I thanked her, and she told me that she would like to stay in contact, and I happily agreed to this. I went back to my house after work on Monday, changed the alarm code, and my stepdad changed all the locks for me. My stepdad is also arranging for a friend of his to install cameras around the outside of the house, which will be done over the weekend. Sylvia rang me on Tuesday asking if we could meet up, as she has some things that she wanted me to know. We met for lunch that day. It was at this time that she told me that her ex was a controlling a-hole who was incredibly selfish, and the selfishness was what she had seen in Robert for so long. That's why she had commented on him being like his father. But she had hoped that was the extent of Robert's attitude, and he hadn't picked up his dad's controlling behavior, which, to be fair, he hadn't up until this whole episode. She had left Robert's dad after he had 1-2'd Robert's brother in the face when he was 14 and Robert was 10. He had never laid a hand on her or their sons before, but one time was enough, and she left with the boys. To her knowledge, her ex had never reached out to speak to Robert or his brother, and they hadn't spoken to their father in years. I didn't know any of this. All I had been told was that their dad wasn't in the picture and hadn't been for a long time. But Sylvia had thought I knew, and that's why she hadn't told me before. However, she found out Sunday night that Robert was back in contact with his father and had been for the past year. His dad had been putting lots of thoughts into Robert's head about how he is the man of the house and his family is all that matters. This had fed into Robert's selfish tendencies and had amplified them tenfold. Sylvia said that she had told him to find somewhere else to stay as soon as possible because she couldn't even look him in the face. Then Robert and his brother had a huge argument that ended with his brother telling them that as long as Robert is in touch with their dad, then he will have zero contact with him, even going so far as to tell him to spend Christmas with their dad because Sylvia is going to his house and Robert isn't welcome. When Sylvia took Robert's brother's side in all of this, Robert flew into a rage and said he would move in with his dad. He then left the house but came back a couple of hours later looking like he'd been crying. Turns out his dad doesn't want him living with him and basically said he could be on the streets for all he cares.
Oh my God.
He's not putting a roof over a grown man's head. Sylvia thinks that Robert is now starting to realize everything he has lost due to him listening to his dad and has seen his dad's true colors. Sylvia is incredibly disappointed in him, but he's her son, so she's trying to be there for him as best she can. However, she still wants him out, and she doesn't trust him anymore. His brother still won't have anything to do with him. She has also told him to stay the heck away from me, as I don't need to be brought into this. And he has promised her that he will. Only time will tell if that's true, but I do have him blocked on everything. And if he turns up to the house, I will just call the police to get rid of him. The more Sylvia told me about what had been going on behind my back, the more resolute I have become about wanting nothing to do with him. I never want to see him again if I can help it. But by the way, I can help you guys in knowing that there's full episodes with stories just like this that you can listen to. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search up Storytime.
There sure are.
Sure, a whole bunch. We got a little bit left.
Yeah, you know why he did it, but it still doesn't excuse that, like, he's an adult. He's an adult. He made a choice to say all those things.
The fact that he was so influenced by his dad concerning. After a year of, like, it's very
pretty concerning. So I think you dodged a bullet.
Yeah, we have a little bit left. So all in all, Robert's life is a crap show. But as long as he stays away from me, then I don't care. I've been spending a lot of time with my sister and her wife, as well as my mom and stepdad, which has been great. I've never really been close to my stepdad, but this has brought us a lot closer together, which has been one huge positive out of all of this. I'm not exactly happy right now, but I'll get there. There's still a lot of feelings that I need to unpack, and it will take time to move on from this whole situation. I don't think I will be dating for a while. I need to really get over all of this, and I don't want to dump this on anyone else right now. Kendra is doing great. She had a hospital appointment on Monday, and her consultant said her eye is healing, in his words, marvelously. So that's a relief. And that is the end of that story.
My friend's ex is obsessed with him, and he still thinks it's normal.
That's not normal, buddy.
So my female recent ex, male, has a girl best friend that has been obsessed with him for years. So mind you, we're all grown adults. So this chick became completely obsessed with him when she was about 16 or 17, and he was on leave from being stationed overseas when he was about 20 or 21 and engaged to his future wife. By the way, this comes from Even Explorer 9679, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKstorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
But we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. NOP says, something happened and his family and this chick's family became somehow intertwined. And then he started becoming best friends with her brothers. Anyways, for years, this chick is taking pictures of him and posting him all over her Blue app and tagging him and everything. Now she's taking the pictures with her phone candidly at house parties, and she's posting them on the app, tagging him, but he never responds. She starts tagging along everywhere that her brothers go when he's home on leave, and they all go out together. When he got married, she was all over his app page talking about how pretty his wife is and how they're lucky to have each other. She puts hearts on most of his posts and makes comments on everything. She even attempts to act like she's familiar with military terms and military jokes. She's never served, but she does play Call of Duty. Same thing. When he gets a divorce from his wife a year and a half later, she's all over the place trying to offer him some support. He later gets a girlfriend pregnant. And when he starts posting pictures of his son, his female best friend is all over those posts, talking about what an amazing daddy he is. Everybody's so lucky to have him, how his son is just so handsome like his daddy. So this kind of behavior goes on for all of my ex's various girlfriends that he's had. Even while he's in a relationship, his female best friend dominates his social media. Now, he never responds to any of her comments, and he never responds to any of her tags. So now I come into the picture. Oh, I forgot. When his son was about 2 years old, she finally gets into a relationship and starts having kids of her own. But now she's all over his page, as well as posting on hers, tagging him how they should all get together so they can all co-parent together and the children all get raised together. She keeps insisting that they're too far away, and if anything, they at least need play dates a couple times a week. What is this guy responding with? What is this guy saying?
He thinks this is normal.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know, she keeps texting me, but whatever.
Set a boundary, dude.
Yeah. So now I'm in the picture, and I immediately have a weird vibe about her. Just before I enter the picture, my ex had shared a meme that said to tag your fourth at. The meme was a house in the middle of nowhere, and it said that your fourth at needs to live here for so many years, whatever, and get like $1 million, whatever. And his chick bestie just happened to fit that spot. She eagerly replies about how she would be excited to move in as long as she can bring her kids and her dogs. She conveniently forgets her fiancé, that's the father of her 3 kids that she's been living with for 7 years at that point. Yikes. So I get a bad vibe about her, and I keep questioning my ex, and he keeps dismissing it as, no, don't worry about it. She's just my sister. There's nothing going on. I keep pointing out that even if he isn't attracted to her, she clearly is obsessed with him. So first off, I am not a model by any means, so I'm not saying this to be mean. I'm just saying this as a visual. She looks like the troll dolls that you find from the 90s. Wow, that's pretty harsh.
I had a couple of those.
Yeah. I'm not playing and I'm not being mean either. Like I said, I'm not gorgeous myself. Just because you're not gorgeous doesn't mean that you saying she looks like a troll isn't mean.
Also, I'm sure you're both gorgeous.
Yeah, that's mean. But my ex is absolutely beautiful. How I got with him, I don't know. Anyway, she's short and stocky with that troll face and troll body.
Jesus.
This is mean. Now, my ex has never said anything negative about any woman's appearance.
You sure have.
The only thing he has said is that she's a sister to him and he just can't find her attractive because she's a sister. So I deal with about 3 years of her inserting herself into all of his social media as well as calling him at least once a week because she's got some kind of crisis and she needs him to come and rescue her. For reference, she has 3 biological brothers and 4 stepbrothers. She has a couple sisters and she's very close to her mom. She has a small group of friends, about 5 or 6, and she was raised in the Appalachians. She met my ex when her family moved from the Appalachians when she was 16 or 17 up north to us. Most of her family is still in the Appalachians, so she goes there all the time. What I'm getting at is she has a huge extended family. She lives in the same neighborhood with one of her brothers, her mom, etc. So there's really no need for her to be calling my ex, insisting that she needs his emotional support. So after about 3 years in this relationship, I could no longer deal with the lack of boundaries that my ex had, not just with her, but with everybody. And I broke up with him. Well, okay.
Thank God.
So a couple months after we broke up, we decided to go and catch lunch. Strange. And we spoke like old friends. He even said, he's going to therapy, he's trying to fix some of the problems that we were having issues with, and he was genuinely making progress and changes. While we were hanging out for a couple hours, he asked me if I knew of any cheap apartments. And then he had explained that a couple weeks earlier, while he was depressed and spiraling, him and his best friend were comforting each other because his depression got worse, and she needed him because, according to her man was mistreating her, and she desperately needed him to find a place for her to live. She wanted him to let her stay in his father's lake house in the middle of the forest. Well, he said he couldn't do that because it's his father's lake house. So instead, he asked me if I could find her an apartment. You asked your ex-girlfriend if she could find an apartment for the girl that she's always told you she doesn't like?
That's weird behavior, dude.
Really weird. And of course, I was like, no. But it really bothered me for several days, because my ex is incredibly protective over everybody in his life, and if he thinks that you're being mistreated, then when you are safely out of the picture, he has a tendency to fix the problems. But something about the story didn't feel right. I have worked with DV survivors for years, various stages and various levels of survival, and I had noticed that she had a TikTok account that she had been saturated with DV fantasies. Apparently, there is a whole book genre out there that romanticizes this. And her favorite sets of books are all about a man and a woman who were best friends as kids. They grow apart, the woman gets into a toxic relationship, and then the man comes and rescues her, takes her out to a castle in the middle of the forest, where he reveals that he's been in love with her since he met her when they were kids, and they live happily ever after, and he turns into a werewolf. A lot of her posts were romanticizing DV. She was claiming it on her social media, but it was more through the lens of an author that had no experience with it. She displays none of the covert signs. In fact, when she is with her fiancé, she's aggressive and does the playful 1-2 on the arm kind of thing. That's supposed to be playful, but it still looks rough. When they're in public, she makes jokes that are insulting towards him, and she openly flirts with other men. Now, maybe it's a homosexual thing, I don't know. But something was just not adding up about her story that she is a victim of DV. And knowing my ex, he was going to fix the problem. So a friend of mine and I went and found her fiancé and asked him how the relationship was going. He was all excited, talking about how they were going to get married in a couple months. Ooh. He was absolutely ecstatic. She was definitely his world. So we broke the news to him about her secretly having these conversations with my ex. I don't know if I like that.
I don't like that at all.
If
someone is coming to you and saying that they are potentially in a DV situation, and you go to the potential abuser? Aggressor and just be like, hey, by the way, she's going to someone else and telling this and that. If she goes home that night, and it is a true statement, which I would always assume that it would be. Yeah. Like that. I don't know. Even if you really doubt, bad, you would still never go to that person.
I would just stay out of it.
100%. Like,
this is your ex. Why are you going to your ex's friend's
OP
husband?
Is way out of line for that one.
So out of line.
If overstepping friend really needed out, she goes to OP or to ex. Yeah. He can help her get out. You have no place to help at this point.
And I let him know that that was a contributing factor for why I left my ex. I had pointed out dozens of specific things that she had done to cross the line while my ex and I were together. He was heartbroken. He calls her up, confronts her, and within seconds, there's a huge altercation with my ex. his friend, and I and her fiance. She breaks down and crocodile tears start screaming about how I'm crazy and I'm jealous and I'm just out to destroy her life. She keeps screaming that I'm lying about everything and just going on with personal attacks and crocodile tears. My ex gets furious with me and starts screaming at me about how I can possibly do this, that I have just ruined her life. So my friend and I were like, okay, you know what? You do you. But her response is the same response that you would see with somebody who's guilty of attempting to cheat. So later on, it turned out that she was testing the water and using his depressive spiral and his savior complex to try to trigger him into rescuing her. She wanted them to be alone in his father's cabin with booze and other substances around that lower inhibitions. But when that plan fell through, all of a sudden she's screaming about how her fiancé is the best man in the world. She loves him dearly, etc. Even though her TikTok account has her posting every day about how she is the victim of DV and romanticizing and sexualizing it, describing it the same way the scenes of her book describe it. So a couple weeks after that, things calm down and I tell my side of the story to my ex, and my ex agreed that it did seem fishy and I wasn't doing it to be vindictive. I was doing it because I genuinely didn't believe her and I wanted to make sure that an innocent person didn't get hurt. So my ex and I start to rekindle. One night, my ex starts posting pictures of him and I together while we were still in a relationship. Okay? He posts them on the app and tags me. We have private little conversations in the comments, reminiscing, talking about how, we missed those nights. We should try it again. That next morning, his best friend goes in and changes her family profile and adds him as her brother publicly. Personally, I thought it was a response to him posting those pictures of me. A few weeks after that, we decide to go out for dinner and we start to rekindle and move forward. My ex takes a bunch of pictures on his phone of us together, including one of us sharing a kiss. He sends me the pictures and says that it's okay if I want to use the picture of us sharing a kiss as my profile pic, so I do. That's a weird question. To be like, hey, if you want to use these pictures of us kissing as your profile, you can.
I'm just very confused.
Yeah.
And why would you go back and date this man again?
And his female best friend has a fit over it. She goes onto my social media, starts lurking. I knew it was her because the analysts show a spike in the city that she lives in. It's a smaller city and I don't have friends and followers in that area. And that city has never shown up on my analytics. And that same country suddenly showed up on my TikTok. So to prove that she's stalking my pages, I make a post about how I don't need makeup or filters. This is just who I am, raw. OP, you don't seem like a great
This is
person.
getting really cringy.
We already know that OP has called this girl a troll.
Right.
And now she's like, I don't even need makeup. This is who I am, raw. And I post pictures of me with no makeup, no filters. All of her photos are heavily filtered and heavily make-upped. Who cares?
Who actually cares?
Who cares? You are
OP?
way too... Okay, you keep saying she's obsessed with your ex. You are too obsessed with her.
Yeah. You both just need to get a different hobby.
Yeah. Suddenly, she changes her profile picture to a photo of her with no makeup and no filters. We play this little tug-of-war game for a couple more weeks. I post something and she responds on her own social media. I tell my ex what's going on and he's convinced it's just a coincidence. Now, during all of this time, I'm also getting threatening messages on social media and on my phone. The first set of messages came from her and from her phone itself. But after a while, she started using fake accounts, so I can't say with certainty that it is her. However, I did put samples of the messages that she sent me from the app and from the text messages, and I entered those into Copilot as well as the anonymous messages and asked Copilot to do a forensic analysis looking at cadence, syntax, tone, and linguistics. Copilot came back saying that there is a 95 to 98% chance that the author of all the messages are the same person. Gave a complete forensic breakdown on everything. I did not give that information directly to my ex. Instead, I took screenshots and posted it on the app. She immediately blocked me. By the way, you shouldn't block us because you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. There is a little bit left to this story.
I'm
Any final
exhausted
thoughts?
by this
Yeah.
story.
I just don't understand why we are so obsessed with your ex's friend.
I don't know why we didn't just leave this relationship and just drop it and be
Block
like, not in this
her.
relationship anymore, don't have to deal with her
Yeah.
anymore.
Literally just block her, block those numbers. Don't get back with your ex.
Yeah, because he's just gonna
leave this woman in the past.
He's just gonna do that again.
So suddenly my ex starts getting a bunch of messages also. Only thing is, he's been talking to her, and she's convinced him that I'm sending these messages to get attention. That caused a huge fight, and he took her side again. So now
you did start instigating it.
Yeah. So now she's no longer with her fiance. They have completely broken up. He doesn't want anything to do with her, and she's all over my ex. So am I the a-hole for cluing in her fiance about what she was doing? And am I the a-hole for posting co-pilot findings on the messages, as well as taking screenshots and posting social media analysis on what cities and countries are suddenly looking at my posts, as well as the timestamp of when my posts are looked at? Yeah.
Like low-key, yeah.
Yeah, why?
I just don't get why it wasn't something that we just could let go and not talk to either of them
she's
anymore.
Weird for that. Let her go.
She's definitely weird for that, and like that was definitely like, girl, what are you doing? And a lot of weird behavior with the whole like
it's just
I don't even know TikTok thing that she had.
It's too much.
It's way too much. You guys are both doing too much.
Like, you're both, like, tied together, and you can't seem to, like... Honestly, I don't even think either of you care about your ex.
Do you guys just want to date? Like, what's
you're just obsessed with each other. Like, stop. Leave it behind. But that's the end of that story.